Let me tell you a story. The first story my father told me, and the first story that I told each of you. In the beginning, there was nothing.
Nothing but the silence of an infinite darkness. But the breath of Sean fluttered against the face of the void, whispering, "Let there be space junk."
Okay, welcome to the show. My name's Sean, and you probably know me as the editor.
And space junk was, and it was good, the first day. And then space junk began to take on substance and shape. Music for cybernetics and chin fell away into nothingness. A second day, and Film Junk was born.
This is the first time we are referring to it as Film Junk. The name change is official, the website has been changed over, but don't freak out, it's really the same old
Our
podcast.
beautiful Film Junk. And a great warming light known as Sean, Jay, and Greg ruled the day, and a lesser light, known by many names, such as Darth Nameless, Reed Farrington, and Jerry ruled the nights.
Oh, this is Kermit the Frog.
And there was Fishing with Tom and Cantankerous. Another day. The ears of the world turned to Film Junk through Podcast Alley, and those ears that forsook the Mugglecast heard Film Junk and knew that it was good. Another day passed, and Film Junk begat many guests: Alicia, Nuno, Colin, Matt, Zach, Kurt, Doug, Singe, Wintle, and Frank. From Frank, a great addition to the show, a blanket of prosperity and premium podcasts stretched across all of Film Junk.
I just hope they
Frank,
don't.
did you just fart?
No.
Okay.
He did earlier, though.
Yeah, when you were in the washroom.
Before we started recording.
It was loud.
It was outstanding.
Cool.
And the listeners cast their ears upon the creation, and their ears smiled. It was paradise, a jewel in Sean's palm. But then, Greg cast himself out. Film Junk's innocence was extinguished. Everything that was beautiful, everything that was good, was shattered. Then, a new seed of Sean's creation sprouted to life, and out of the shattered world, Game Junk was born.
Although we went with Game Junk, we were thinking about going with our favorite submission, which was The Uncanny Valley.
Paradise returns, and with it, a whole new Film Junk world is created. With the voice of an angel, Greg returned, and together with Frank, the two of them conceived a creation of their own, Ball Junk.
Hey, what do you say? It's time! It's time! Ball Junk!
And listeners rejoiced, and dropped tear, and Film Junk grew and flourished, with guests Dax and Scott lending their support. And Film Junk created lesser beings, known as patrons and heroes, slaves who supported the Film Junk universe. And because of this creation, the Film Junk universe continually expanded, eventually creating TV Junk. Finally, at peace, Sean was able to rest, and looking out over his vast creation, he whispered,
As much as I did get choked up in scenes in 50-50, I actually got choked up at some scenes in Real Steel, so...
We are gathered here to worship in the wake of Film Junk and glory in the Film Junk universe. This is Mouthbreathers Radio, episode 1, and we are going to be talking about the top 5 moments in the Film Junk universe for the last week. That's right, September 19th to the 24th, we are counting down such amazing Film Junk related things as Curse Films 2 on Blu-ray, Frank hates the Copo, and Jay getting COVID, as well as a very exciting announcement, so don't touch that dial. This is Mouthbreathers Radio. And now it's your host and film junk historian, Drew Nugent.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show, Mouthbreathers Radio. For a long time, I'd had this idea for a show, a sort of film junk after show of sorts, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of film junk in a particular week. So I wanted to say thank you to my co-host FilmApe for coming together with me and doing this. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Drew. It is an honor to be able to do this with you. We go back pretty far.
Yeah.
How far?
Well, it's an honor to be able
back?
to talk to you. Yeah, we go back. I don't know if we go back as far as you and Colin do, but I think we go back at least to 2012.
Yep.
About 10 years ago.
But
I've
known of you for way longer than that. We're talking 2007.
Yeah. So I do have a history on film junk, and that's why it's fun to get together and do this and have kind of a podcast dedicated to film junk in a way.
So what is your history for, say, some new listeners who maybe don't know?
History. Yeah, I started listening to film junk in about 2007. I think the way I found out about film junk is I literally just typed in film podcast into Google, and that happened to be the one I found. Wow. And and then that started like a journey. I mean, I remember thinking, I always thought that I would stop listening to film junk at some point, but I haven't, and I don't see ever stopping, at this point until they stop recording. But even then, I still have the old shows to listen to, so I can't see myself ever stopping listening.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Podcast Alley is how I found it, and I was just going through downloading shows, and at that time, I had like an MP3 player I bought from Walmart that was like 250 megs, so I could get like one or two shows basically on it. And then nice. Film Junk is the only podcast that I found there that I like started listening to on a weekly basis, and then literally have not like missed a show ever.
Yeah, I've tried to get into other podcasts, and I've gotten into some here and there, but never on the level that I'm into Film Junk.
For sure,
not anywhere close.
So what is it about Film Junk that like brings you in, other than like you were kind of your mailbag questions always got attention, and that's what I remember. That's how I like was first introduced to you.
Well, I think one thing is that, and Jay even makes jokes about this on the early episodes. He's like, we have a policy of reading every single email, and this is what happens. Because sometimes you get crazy listeners, and that's what I was in the early days. I was just a crazy, insane person who would email. I was 13 years old, and I had no filter of like what I would send in. But that's kind of what I think got me some attention. It's just that like I was this weird kid that would come in and say that like I watched the Bud Dwyer video and Jay scarred me or whatever.
And for those that don't know what the Bud Dwyer video is, do not search for it. Do not watch it like Drew did. Forever scarred. Yeah.
A scar to my 13-year-old impressionable mind. Now I can watch it and just laugh. Maybe that's not I shouldn't say laugh, but I can watch it completely desensitized is what I mean.
Yeah, you're Drew the boy has become Nugent the man.
Yeah.
So what keeps you listening to Film Junk now?
Well, now it's a part of like, it's almost just a habit in a way. I mean, I have to listen every single week. But obviously, I've done interviews with Jay. I've interacted with the hosts. They feel like people I know in some way, even though I don't truly know them. But, I'm friendly with people on the Discord, and it's just like this kind of world I'm a part of, and it's just a fun thing. And it's been going for so long that, kind of just in that habit. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, it's an addiction. And, the worst thing that I can think that I do is I will refer to something on Film Junk to, like, somebody who does not listen to it and be like, oh, Jay like said this or something, like absent-mindedly, and then they'll be like, who's Jay? And then I'm like, I'm not explaining to this person that I'm talking about someone who I do not know, but who I listen to every single day. So it's, that's, Film Junk is in my DNA now, and like you, I will continue listening to it until the end of time.
I'll definitely, I don't know when the end will be. Whenever that will be, it'll be a shocking day. But especially because, I know there was jokes early on. Jay would be like, it'd be like 2007. And Jay would be like, if we're still doing this in 2 years, it'll be pathetic. It's like, you'll still be doing this for 15 years.
And that's, to not to get like too sappy, but it is nice to have like contributed to like the world's longest running film podcast. And it's influenced my like viewing habits like immensely. Like I'd seen some John Carpenter. I never really dove into it until Film Junk and until Jay was, and that's like, I bought a Prince of Darkness poster because Jay had a Prince of Darkness poster. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I definitely, Film Junk was and Jay specifically was a big influence on my taste in film. And, I was a movie fan before I was a Film Junk fan, but I was a movie fan on a very basic level. I liked seeing Spider-Man and things like that.
Yeah.
But, and I wanted to be a filmmaker too. So there was like that sort of interest.
For sure.
But, listening to Film Junk got me watching a lot of things, and it got me into Werner Herzog. I was watching Werner Herzog movies when I was 15, thanks to Film Junk.
You were at like school being like, have you seen Even Dwarfs Started Small?
Well, that was kind of like that. I was making movies with my friends and like making references to Strozek and like just weird shit like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so yeah.
So then what are we doing with Mouthbreathers Radio? What's the intent?
Well, the intent is just to have a fun show that everybody can listen to after the fact. This may come up. I think it'll be like Mondays or Tuesdays when the shows go up, so it might be a little bit after the show drops. But always come here on a Monday or a Tuesday and look for pretty much the Film Junk after show, and we'll be talking about what's going on in the world of junk, and it could be anything. It could be game junk or ball junk, whatever's on our minds, but it's just the world of junk distilled into a show.
And that reminds me, which I never meant, I should have mentioned this to you. I got the Gmail Mouthbreathers Radio at gmail.com. So if people also want to mail in and participate, they can, because I think we'll also include Discord conversations and Patreon comments as well, if they're worthy of the Mouthbreathers Radio top 5. And so if there are suggestions, you can email us at mouthbreathersradio@gmail.com, and we'll get those, and we will read your emails on the air, and you can participate too from home.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool to hear, because that'll be exciting if we actually get a bunch of emails. We can do like a mailbag segment. So totally. Yeah, definitely email us.
But so we're going to start, and we're going to go way back in time to the top 5s that FJ used to do.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Launch commit. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Okay, Houston, roll complete.
Roger, roll complete.
Nice. That takes me back. So I think our number 5 here is Jay gets COVID.
And I got a clip. Do you want to hear it first?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's jump into that clip.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I got it. Because I went to Halifax for kind of a day and a half, 2 nights. And it could have been on the plane. I had to go to a dinner the day before. Could have been that. But I know someone that I was sitting next to in Halifax at a dinner has COVID as well. So I don't know.
Whoa.
Sounds like you could have found it right there.
Get real. Like if you're going to fly to Halifax to a film festival and be sitting across from multiple people at tables and if you're not expecting that there's a good chance you're going to get COVID, go screw.
So had Jay hadn't had COVID before this?
No, I don't think so. And Frank got it right before him, so it was interesting.
And that was Frank's second time of having it, right?
Was it? I thought it was his first, but yeah,
well, maybe it was. Maybe he had COVID and then he had Covido after that.
Yeah, and that was one thing. Yeah, Frankie was Frankie Covido recently, and that was a good nickname. But I don't think Sean has gotten it yet, as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm sure that if there are people listening, they'll be able to correct us if Sean had COVID. But do we think that it affects the quality of the show when they're down with the sickness?
I don't personally think it does, especially since they're doing it over Skype now. I mean, I think COVID itself has affected the show, not in a bad way, but they're not doing it in person anymore, and I think Jay has even said that he wouldn't necessarily want to do it in person because that would affect his ability to use the soundboard.
Yeah, and I have to think that it's probably a blessing for the longevity of Film Junk as well, because, I mean, Jay is hopping all over the globe. He's talking about, I'm spending a day and a half in Halifax going to dinners, and that's how he's getting sick. So I'm happy that the way that things are set up, number one, the quality of the show never dropped doing it how they're doing it, and then the actual listening quality never dropped. And I just think it probably makes things way easier for all of them to just jump on it at home and have setups. So I think if anything, I mean, COVID killed a lot of stuff, even creative projects, because people just couldn't work on them or weren't feeling motivated. But I think COVID has given Film Junk almost a new life.
I think that's how it works with everything. Like you said, it's killed a lot of projects. But to take it to something non-Film Junk related, just for a second, Sean Baker, who's a filmmaker who did the Florida Project and films such as that, I remember him talking about how he had a plan for a movie that he was working on right before COVID happened, and they were going to shoot it in Vancouver, and they were all ready to go. And but then COVID happened and they couldn't shoot it anymore, and they were all very upset. But he just kind of pulled out of the back burner Red Rocket because he really wanted to make something. So if COVID wouldn't have happened, we may not have ever got that. So
and then we could maybe say the Patreon is Film Junk's Red Rocket and the televisual tier.
Yeah,
something
definitely
that they
the
just kind of
televisual
pulled
tier
out.
and stuff like that. Well, the soundboard. I mean, the soundboard is such an iconic thing now.
Totally, but I think that dates to us ponying up some serious quiddly for the Junkers, much deserved. And I guess, the soundboard was in full effect on this last episode. So do you think COVID gave Jay some inspiration to go nuts on the board?
Definitely. I definitely think it does. I think that's probably the biggest after effect of COVID, because I think that the Patreon technically happened pre-COVID, but the televisual tier, stuff doing the the stuff they do now, the trailer reactions and stuff like that, that's definitely good stuff that we've gotten in recent times. So, and I enjoy that stuff. And Jay's been putting in I think Jay edits them, but he's been making them look very polished and nice. And I love that stuff.
So thank you, COVID.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you're kind of far away. It's a bigger deal because I'm up here in Canada too with the FJ guys, just literally a world apart despite being in the same country. Hurricane Fiona just destroyed Atlantic Canada. And
Atlantic Canada?
Yeah,
Halifax?
Halifax.
Atlantic Canada?
So there was 100 homes destroyed, not necessarily in Halifax, but in the Maritimes, which takes all the provinces that are on the Atlantic coast.
What is that close. Is Nova Scotia Atlantic Canada?
Yeah,
okay.
Newfoundland, Labrador, a little bit of Quebec, I guess, got hit as well. But do we think that maybe because of Jay's Hollywood ties, he's part of some cabal that met in Halifax, and like we know from Cursed Films that he has lots of connections with the occult. And do you think that they met in Halifax and they conjured this storm to destroy Atlantic Canada? Drew, your thoughts?
Well, you never know. You never know out there in Hollywood. You never know what they're going to conjure up. No, I'm just kidding. But like, Jay might be a part of the Illuminati. We don't know. I wouldn't want to out him if he is.
I mean, nobody lives in Toronto and affords an apartment like Jay has without being part of the Illuminati. I'm just gonna, I'll leave that. But that takes us to our number 4 spot, which is Cursed Films 2 dropping on Blu-ray. And I'm a big fan of Cursed Films. Drew, I'm assuming you are. Did you pop on the Blu-ray?
Not yet, to be honest. I mean, it's a little embarrassing to say, but I will. I will pop on it. I mean, I have to complete my Jay Cheel shrine. And I own everything else that he's put out on physical media.
And wait. So what makes up the shrine and how is it arranged?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't have an actual Jay Cheel shrine, but I'd have all the stuff. The only thing... You have the makings of a shrine. Yeah. You just have been too lazy to actually put it together. Exactly. Well, I of course have the Beauty Day Circle Collective release that was done through Vinegar Syndrome. Beautiful slipcase or slipcover. And I have Cursed Films 1 on Blu-ray. And I have the old Beauty Day DVD that's signed by Jay.
Awesome.
I have the How to Build a Time Machine that he mailed out back 5 years ago or so. There's some other like assorted film junk items I have.
Dude, you showed me that mouse pad, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. I was going to come and show it, but this is not on video, so there's no need. But I have some other things. I have a film junk mug that was sent when I won the trivia contest. That was pretty cool. I think the mouse pad also came in that package. But there's some things I'm missing that I'm ashamed of. Like, I don't have the film junk pin. I was kind of broke at that point, so I couldn't buy the pin.
Okay.
What else? I never bought a Reed Farrington t-shirt.
Okay.
Although I did buy the very early days, like the first film junk t-shirt that was ever released, but Sean didn't promote it because he wasn't fully proud of it, I guess. But I did buy it. And
what was on it?
But yeah, it was just a logo. I think I still have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But now it's very ratty and old.
Logo?
It was just like it was like I don't know how to explain it. It was like the red one with like white lettering.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that was like early days, dude.
Yeah. I like that logo. It's very classic to me, but I have a lot of film junk stuff. I have the USB drive, but there's some stuff I am missing. So,
man, remember when somebody like gave away the USB drive? Do you
for free?
Yeah, like they were like, I was cleaning up and I don't need it, and I'm like, dude, you need it because it's like an artifact. It's a grail thing. All the new people, do you think they'll ever, like when we hit 1,000, will we get another USB? You think?
I don't think so. I mean, plus everything, it was a lot of effort for them to put that together. Plus, I don't know how many people really use USBs these days, especially for like listening to podcast media. I mean, I think it's a lot easier now because all the stuff is available on Gumroad that has like a good app you can use. Yeah, that's beautiful. FilmApe is holding up a USB drive.
You just gotta you gotta have it on your keychain. You gotta be repping Film Junk. Like, I guess my question was gonna be for you, like, what's your like kingpin bowling pin out of all of the Film Junk artifacts in your Jay Cheel shrine? So you're like in your underwear and your house is on fire. What are you grabbing?
I don't know. I mean, probably the Beauty Day copies, the Vinegar Syndrome or Circle Collective one, and the DVD, and the Film Junk mug. The Film Junk mug contains the Film Junk USB inside it. That's where I keep it.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, all that stuff's good. One thing I would love to have is like a full-size poster. Like, I know Sean has one. I've seen in the background of some of the videos. But a full-size poster of one of Jay's movies. I know Sean has like the old school How to Build a Time Machine poster. I've seen that in the background. But yeah, I'd love to have like a 24 by 36 or whatever poster of one of Jay's movies.
Yeah, they should totally print those. I think if they did like a 50 or 100 run, it would sell out like immediately. And I understand the biggest problem is they just need to like pony up some of that Patreon cash and get employee that can send all that stuff out. Because yeah, I understand that that's a bit of a pain doing all that work, but I have one.
Yeah, it was a lot of work for them mailing it out. Like they just I think it took a while for the pins. Like it took like months, but yeah.
Yeah, I ended up with one of the full-size How to Build a Time Machine posters, which is like has nothing to do with that movie that was released. And
so that's that took bowling pin. That's the one I would be proud of.
I think it's in a frame but not up anywhere right now. And that one's cool, and that took forever to get. That took like literally years after paying for it to get. But I mean, that was crowdfunding How to Build a Time Machine, and that movie is like, I just love that movie so much. But I would be so on board for Curse Films posters. I never got the vinyl of the soundtrack. I don't know if they did it for.
Neither did I.
I don't know if they did it for the second season, but that is a pretty cool item. I think it did have. Yeah. I think it might have had a Curse Films poster in it.
Oh wow!
But I mean, to ship it to Canada was just stupid, and but I mean the music's killer on that. So again, they just need to open up the floodgates and just merch everything, and the people will buy.
Well, now that Jay's working with Vinegar Syndrome in some way, like I think the Beauty Day, that like it sold out the slipcover, and I think the regular version is almost sold out. So that's pretty impressive.
For sure. I'm assuming if they drop How to Build a Time Machine, you'll buy another copy of it.
Yeah, I was going to say they're working on that one, and I would definitely buy that copy. So, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
They should do, because I love those. You mentioned the Curse Films and the vinyl that has the poster in it. I love getting stuff like Criterion's or Arrow Blu-rays that have like posters inside of it. They should do that with some of the How to Build a Time Machine release or something like that. Yeah. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just all the swag imaginable. I want a mouse pad. If Drew gets a mouse pad, I want a mouse pad. So
I don't currently have a desktop right now, but I want one so I can have a nice setup to do this podcast. But if I do get that, I will be definitely using that mouse pad.
And the magic of Film Junk will just flow through the mouse into your very body, Drew.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be awesome. So I think, are we ready to move on to the next number? I think we have number 3.
If I have to talk about the Fablemans. Are you jazzed about this? I am not at all.
I'm excited for the Fablemans. So I guess our number 3 is just talking about the whole idea that they review the Fablemans of the latest episode, and it's a bit of an early review, a TIFF review, and some people on the Discord were a little, questioning like should they review movies that nobody has the chance to see? And they put a spoiler review up there, which I can't listen to because I haven't seen it, obviously. But I like hearing some of those early reviews. It gets me excited for the movies.
So, do you do much like Film Fest stuff? Can you relate to the TIFF talk?
I mean, I like it in that it makes me wish I could do that kind of stuff. But I've never been able to afford the biggest one that are near me are the ones in Austin. There's Fantastic Fest, which is fairly big, and South by Southwest, obviously. And I've never been able to afford to go out there. But I have been to some smaller ones. There's Houston Cinema Arts Festival, which is kind of impressive. I didn't know they actually get like big people until recently. Like last year they did Red Rocket and they had Sean Baker there in person. And obviously that movie was shot in Texas City, which is around Houston. So that was a big deal for that. But in the past they've had Tilda Swinton up there and like a bunch of big people. But so that is actually kind of the cool film festival that's in Houston. There's another one called Houston World Fest, which is not very good. It's kind of embarrassing, but that was the only one I was aware of. So I thought that was all we had. But I've been to like one screening there. I saw LBJ there. They had Rob Reiner. in person. But yeah, that wasn't very good. But I also went to a film festival at the Alma Draft House in Houston. The programmer there, who's a really great programmer, his name is Robert Sassetto, and he put on a whole film festival around Halloween of just like horror films, older horror films, but he also included newer horror films. Like there was one called Daniel Isn't Real that some people might have heard of. It's on Shudder. He had the director there for that. And so that made it feel like a real deal film festival. And I got to talk to that director and have a conversation with him, and that was a really great experience. But that's my film festival history, basically.
Yeah, and that used to be kind of how it was handled on Film Junk, and I did like that. Like, Greg used to take a week off and do all of TIFF, if you remember. And he had done that,
remember that.
Even before Film Junk. And he had awesome stories. Like, it was as much about what was Greg's experience or the other FJ guys during TIFF as it was about the films themselves. Because if I recall, Greg saw Roger Ebert at a Burger King, chowing down on 2 Whoppers, which was such an awesome story.
He was like, I don't want to ask him about movies. I was just like, how's the burger?
And then I don't know if you remember this. I think Greg biffed it really hard off a curb and rolled his ankle or something. And so he was hurt
about that. That's kind of vague.
And so yeah, it used to be a big deal, but I think the luster of TIFF has kind of gone out of
I don't know if
Film
Greg
Junk.
even goes to TIFF anymore.
Yeah, it certainly feels like he doesn't. And I mean,
I don't think
Toronto
he has
will do
the
that
show.
too.
I mean, I don't know for sure, obviously, but
yeah,
I would guess. I mean, I don't know. Let us know, Greg. Email the show. But
so then doing
or go ahead.
Doing the Fablemans, just the Fablemans, is kind of interesting because it's a full review, right? Mm-hmm. And it didn't necessarily feel like the old TIFF days, and it was just this full review. And I mean, how many other people do you think saw Fablemans that listened to the show?
Maybe 1 or 2. I don't think very many. But I think what's interesting about the fact that they do that is that they have a completely uninhibited reaction to the movie. They're not affected by any of the hype, any of the bullshit about people talking about it. Because I remember they reviewed La La Land, and they loved it. But I think their reaction to it might have been different if they saw it after the movie came out and people had been talking about it for a month.
I mean, we'll get into it, but I think I disagree with. I think a certain FJ member was literally responding to the hype that was building during a screening.
That's true.
So we'll get into that.
We'll get to. But I just mean kind of public things on the internet, talking points that everybody is talking about. Those things won't be in your head as much. Maybe you'll be responding to too much laughter in the theater or whatever.
Yeah.
Or go ahead.
So the big thing is did the Fablemans review? Did you listen to the whole thing? Did you listen to the spoiler? Did it get you more excited for the movie? I listened to just the regular because I'm not that keen on the movie. I didn't listen to the spoiler in case I watch it. So what did you do?
I listened to the regular, even though I'm excited for the movie. I did listen to the regular, and sometimes I'll skip even the regular because I don't want anything spoiled. But I think, honestly, it does give me a pretty good picture of the movie. So, I mean, I feel like I've had a lot spoiled for me, not just by them, but I've also read things here and there, but I probably shouldn't have read. But whatever, it's not some movie that has a massive twist in it or something, so it doesn't matter. But I didn't listen to the spoiler review just in case. But I did listen to the main review, and it did get me ultimately more excited for the movie, so I'm glad I listened to it.
So then do you obviously side with Film Junk over the Discord, and you are glad that they did this, even though it is a niche. This is the ultra exclusivity main review. They couldn't be more exclusive unless John Carpenter invited him over to screen him playing video games.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely do side with Film Junk on it, and it also goes back to just tradition. They've always done they've always done TIFF shows, and around this time of year, and they haven't been doing it so much recently. But whenever they can include that content, I do enjoy it.
So you're to hear Drew sides with Film Junk. Drew is the Film Junk historian. He's the lawmaker. the lawgiver,
Exactly.
and so nobody
Where
can
do you
have a
side?
bad attitude. I don't care. I think I care more when I'm jealous of the movie that they're seeing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would, if I had the opportunity, I would not have even seen The Fablemans. I'm not jazzed about it. I think the whale of everything that was playing there has me more interested. So I think if they reviewed that, I probably would not have listened to anything that they had to say about it.
Yeah, and that's the big one that would have been great to see, obviously.
Literally.
I'm trying to think of the other movies that are at TIFF. Glass Onion. I mean, that's not like... it's just trying to think of stuff that's there. But, yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff, I'm sure. But
like
in past years... Or go ahead.
The Fablemans won the best... It's won Best Picture, right?
Oh, yeah,
like,
at TIFF,
nothing...
like audience award.
No, I'm talking like at the Academy Awards. Like, I don't think...
Possibly.
What's going to come out other than Avatar 2 to challenge it?
We never know. I read some of these like insider blogs, and I've heard some people talking about Apple, which owns Napoleon, the Ridley Scott movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
They might try to push that out early for December to try to get in the Oscar race. And there's also stuff like Bardo. I mean, maybe that doesn't have that great of a chance of winning, but I don't know. You never know. But I think Fablemans does have a good chance.
Yeah, I would say it's front runner right now, and so that puts,
even Avatar 2 is a contender.
Because James Cameron said when Avatar came out and Hurt Locker was getting all the praise, he was like, okay, Hurt Locker can get some praise, but give Avatar praise. So he's been waiting literally over a decade. How long has it been? It's been stinking forever.
Like 13 years.
Yeah, so...
I think back then he was kind of condescendingly like, give Catherine Bigelow the director thing. That's fine. But give me Best Picture.
So then he'll be like, give Spielberg director and give Avatar 2 The Way of Water.
Yeah.
Give that Best Picture.
Yeah. And what else? I mean, I think honestly Top Gun Maverick is a contender this year.
Yeah, I think it'll probably get nominated.
Yeah, I don't think it'll win, but I think it will definitely be nominated.
You think Cruise will get a nomination?
I hope he does. Honestly, maybe I'm a sucker and kind of a mouth breather, as is appropriate with the title. But like that, it excites me, the idea of Tom Cruise being nominated. I don't know why.
I just hope if Tom Cruise wins that he like hang glides to the stage, does like some crazy role and gets his award, and then I don't know, jumps on some big rig and flies out of there. Like, I want to see the stunts. Like, if he can make Hollywood fun again, he can make the Oscars fun again.
Yeah, definitely. So. I mean, let's say hypothetically he did win, it would only be kind of just a career nod. Like we want to give you an Oscar, Tom Cruise, because there's nothing amazing about his performance. I mean, it's good. I think it's a good performance, but it's not like it's just standard Tom Cruise.
I mean, save the the Oscar for when he plays Les Grossman again in the Les Grossman movie. Like, let's give it for something that he actually earns.
Well, maybe, yeah. I can't believe they're making that movie. One, because that character is so heavily inspired by Harvey Weinstein.
True.
So I find it odd they're making that, but it'll be interesting to see.
Maybe it's just a drama and he's like in court and he has like a walker and all this stuff. And then we know that the court of public opinion would be going crazy on that. And that takes us to our number 2 point, which is
perfect segue.
Frankie hates the Copo and his torpedo hole. Let's hear what's going on with that.
Frankie, right?
I agree. That is correct.
Oh my God.
Congratulations.
Up, ever since this guy has had the long covito, his butthole's as tight as a torpedo hole or whatever you want to call it.
Torpedo hole?
Yeah, like you shoot the torpedo out.
You might want to get the, I know you have, would you like some jouets from Cable Guy? You might want scramby eggs for your scrambled brains. The scramby eggs.
Like some jouets?
So Frankie's torpedo hole is tight. I think it must have got way tighter while he was in the theater watching Fablemans. And we got another clip. Let's take a listen.
And I have to say though, the festival audience was a detraction for me. I couldn't help but thinking of.
I could feel Frank's star rating going down.
As at the beginning of the movie for sure. Like Joaquin Phoenix when he was in I'm Still Here mode on Letterman, and he was like talking to the crowd like, "What
did you just say, Letterman?"
I guess I did say Letterman. He was on Letterman. Can't find a Letterman, and it was like, what do you pump into this crowd? Like, what are these people on? Are you putting laughing gas into this place? Like, it was so weird. Anything. People were like, they had to react to every single thing in the movie. It was obnoxious, like truly obnoxious. And it hindered my enjoyment of the movie. So I'm curious to see it again, but definitely liked it more than West Side Story and more than Ready Player One, but I'm not as in on it as everyone else seems to be.
So I have to say, I love when Frank goes off on the Copo and when he is just angry because other people like something, because I can relate. Drew, how do you feel about it?
Well, one thing that impresses me about Frank and the Copo is that he was talking about the Copo probably about 10 years ago. And now the world is run by the Copo. So I think he was a little bit ahead of his time. But
so I guess are we using that correctly when we say it was the Copo that was in the theater with him, or was it like something like, I don't know? Court just suggests negative. Is there something? Is there a positive version of the court of
I think it can
public
have multiple
opinions?
Meanings.
Okay.
The meanings I mean with this one is just more that, like, is Frank too affected by people in the audience? You know, the public opinion being the people in that audience. Does he get too worked up about, like, oh, why are these people laughing? And Frank, if you're listening to this, which you might be, I'm not trying to bash you. We're just discussing this here. And
Drew, I feel like you have felt the way that Frank feels in a screening. I know I have for sure.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes people can be obnoxious, and but sometimes I get into it. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it helps to have that audience vibe. And it really just depends. I mean, I would have to be there to really understand whether he was in the right or in the wrong. But
I mean, I'd say when I'm not worried about someone coming in and shooting up the theater, which is, for whatever reason, is like my number one fear now when I go to the theater. Number two fear is that I'll be in a really obnoxious theater that's like rambunctious and like into a film. I don't think this has not happened in a very, very long time. But I don't think I've ever hated. I think the last time was maybe Last Jedi, but it was like a negative thing. The Star Bros were like being very negative to the film during the screening, and that was like a little bit. But
I've never really
I
had
stand
anything like
with
that
Frank.
where it's like, yeah, I think I more stand with Jay, honestly, but I can see where you're coming from. You know, not to get too dark here, but you made me think about something. With being afraid of people shooting up the theater. The only time I was afraid of that was when I saw Joker. Because I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of talk around that time of it inspiring people to, you know, go crazy. But I think that was a little bit overblown at the time.
And I mean, to be fair, like someone literally just pepper sprayed entire like theater lobby like a week ago in my area. So yeah, I mean, this is Canada news. It's probably not getting international coverage, but I guess they just literally just walked in and it was for like spraying pepper spray, and so they evacuated the whole theater. And so
I mean, when I say this, or go ahead.
There were probably people being like, I want to finish Barbarian, and they couldn't because there was pepper spray in the theater.
Yeah. It would suck if I had something crazy like that happen. I don't know if I'd be able to finish the movie, obviously, because I'd just be like, I want to get the fuck out of here. But like, I was gonna say, I've been to probably over 1,000 movies in my life in the theater.
Okay.
And really, only once have I had anything anywhere close to, like, you know, kind of freaky happen.
Okay.
And that was like, that one time was at the Avengers Infinity War. I saw it in a massive IMAX screening. And there was a crazy woman who I assume was on crack or something, just like kind of like losing her mind and like just be like, "Oh shit! Like what's going on?" But just like screaming out stuff. But like, and then she ran up to a woman behind me and kind of grabbed her and was like, "Oh, this is crazy." And like the woman that she grabbed started like, well, first she was like screaming, "Get off me," and then she started crying, and then security, because this was like in Houston, like actual like Houston, so there's a little bit more of a crime rate there.
Okay.
But like, so there was cops like readily available like in the lobby, so the cops came in and they escorted her right out, and we were good after that. So,
so do we think that the crowd loving a film could ever push Frank to the point of dropping his corn and doing something crazy?
He might freak out so bad that he pepper sprays an entire audience. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
But I doubt it. I don't think Frank would ever do that. But
yeah, I think it's mostly dealt with internally. So we appreciate that about Frank. And then dealt with externally, therapeutically on the Film Junk podcast, which I also appreciate. And I think I want more of it. It's like some of the best Film Junk content is Jay challenging Frank's views on other people's views. And that's been coming up a lot with Frank assuming what's going on with what's popular. Everybody's talking about stuff. And I think that's just great entertainment.
Yeah. Well, it's good entertainment for the show for sure. And, but I don't know. I mean, personally, I like to loosen up, just let it flow, just kind of take things in as I want to see them. But for the show, I think it makes for great content.
I hear you. And speaking of great content, Drew, what's our number one in our top 5?
Our number one is Film Junk premiums are officially coming to Patreon, which is big news. And while we were preparing to record, I saw a notification come in. I think the first premium is officially available on Patreon.
The Chucky one?
Yeah, I saw that come in. The Child's Play
I
premium.
was checking. So is it live? Is the new tier live? Let me check.
I don't know if the tier is, but I think it may be coming soon.
They said, and they said that it would come with the Chucky premium. Yeah, premium podcasts are now, as of an hour ago, premium podcasts are now available on Patreon.
Beautiful. Yeah, it'll be great. I don't have to go and shell out $1. I can just listen to it on Patreon. Not that it was ever a big deal to do that. I did like having my collection on Bandcamp. It was nice to kind of look at that, like, those little collection of images on the Bandcamp app. But I think it'll be cool to have them on the Patreon, and the Patreon can be kind of a one-stop shop. And of course, the Bandcamp stuff is still there, but yeah,
this is awesome. This is fortuitous. So the premium tier is up. So let's break this down, and we've got the patron tier, which gives you bonus podcasts and audio content, premium podcast voting, early access to the Film Junk podcast, the weekly show. Gives you access to some additional back episodes, the polls, members only, the Patreon exclusive Discord channel, which is like gold to Film Junk listeners, and then the monthly junk mail episode. All that for $4 a month, which I guess these are Canadian prices. So what's that in stateside?
I've got no idea. Okay. I don't think it's much of a difference. It's
probably 50 cents, given how crap our dollar is. But then we got the televisual tier, which I believe this was coming in at $5. It was being reduced from $7 US a month to $5 US. So for me, it would be $7 Canadian. And so you get everything on the patron tier, the Film Junker tier. Then you get all the video stuff. You get the video only junk mail, the Film Junk plays, bonus videos. It's a sweet deal. And then the brand new premium tier. So for $9.50 a month, which I guess is $7 US a month, we're getting everything in the televisual tier plus the monthly premium podcast. And this is featuring an in-depth discussion about an entire movie franchise, genre, theme, or just director's filmography. And then for months where there's no new premium podcast, it will be an episode from our back catalog. You also get early access to the latest premium podcast before it goes live on Bandcamp, and then additional premium content, including audio commentaries, one-shot premiums, reprise or re-premiums, and where they're going to revisit movies covered on this one's on earlier premium podcasts, which is insane, I think. And then we got Hero Tier, which I think is $10 US, it's $13.50 Canadian, and that just gives you everything plus bragging rights.
Yep. Well, I'm a hero, and I'll always, if I'm paying for the Patreon, I mean, I've got to go all the way. How do you feel about that? Are you a hero?
I have been. I'm currently just a film junker right now. I was not there was something exclusive for the heroes, so I had to have it. I had to see it, so that I upped for that. Then I downed to the televisual, and then I'm too busy to watch stuff, so then I went down to film junker tier. But now I'm flirting with the premium tier because that is pretty sweet. But
it's a little hard for me. Or go ahead.
I'll let you go because I'm going to get controversial here in a second.
Well, I was just going to say it's a little hard for me month to month because I'm broke. But I lately though I've been able to keep my hero tier consistent, and I just feel like if I'm going to pay for it, I might as well just be a hero. I don't know.
But you have you got in your hero shout out yet?
I haven't, but I don't expect to anytime soon. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think how many heroes out there do you think?
That's the one thing, is that there's a lot. They have a lot to go through, but a lot more than I would like. I think at least 100 or 200. I don't know. That would be big numbers. I would say at least 100 for sure.
That'd be pretty sweet for them and deserved. So the big thing for me is, number one, once we start talking premiums on Patreon, and they're saying that there'll be kind of these bonus Patreon stuff. The big thing is premiums on Patreon will be single track. Premiums on Bandcamp
that I'm excited
will be multi-track. I am a fan of the multi-track, but I'm thinking, do I need both? Do I need both the single track and the multi-track for, say, different events in my life? Maybe I want to just listen to it all, but maybe I want to listen to just one movie in a premium, which the multi-track. So do I buy both is the question.
I personally wouldn't, but I would say you do you. But I can understand my only thing against the multi-track. My thing I like with the multi-track is that I like the ability to jump to the beginning of certain movies. Like, say I watch this movie and I just want to hear them talk about that movie, I can skip to that. But there's some premiums where it's not lined up perfectly, so it's hard to go skip through. But I would say the easiest thing for them to do is with the regular one track on Patreon, just list the timestamps like we already get with the regular episodes, and then we're set. So
totally,
I think they should do that.
Because I just rewatched Castaway, drive-in screening, amazing, great night, and then I came home 2 a.m. I wanted to jump into the Film Junk thoughts on Castaway, so that I go to the Zemeckis premium on the Bandcamp app, and I cannot, what was before it, and I had to I pretty much just listened to what was playing before it, and I cannot remember because it was annoying me because I was like, I just want to listen to Castaway, and I don't want to hear about whatever Zemeckis film was before Castaway. Now I got to look it up, but do you have a guess of what Zemeckis film?
Was it, What Lies Beneath? I think it was.
But they didn't talk about that on the...
Oh, you're saying on the Patreon? Or on not the Patreon, the premium?
Yeah, on the Bandcamp.
Forrest Gump?
It wasn't that one. I can't remember what it is.
Or... I think that's the only thing that would have been before that they would have talked about. I'm not sure.
Contact. I had to listen to I had to listen, which actually is funny because of like making fun of some of the worst parts of Contact. But I was like, I didn't just watch Contact. I just watched Castaway. So then I listened through it, and then so I do find myself revisiting the premiums via Bandcamp. I used to be solely premiums re-listening for a few years, but now I'm re-listening to the entire series, like all the episodes again. So the premiums have kind of gone by the wayside because I just stressed them out. Do you find you're revisiting the premiums a lot?
Not as much as I used to. I still do occasionally, like you said, like when it'll be with a certain movie I've rewatched or whatever. But a lot of these days I've been really into just re-listening over and over again, almost to a ridiculous degree, like older episodes, stuff from like 2007, 2008. Maybe that has to do with like a personal nostalgia I have for that era because that's when I was first listening. But I listen a lot to that older stuff.
Do you like cringe when you have your emails come up, or?
I do cringe, and sometimes I fast forward through those, but yeah, some of those are pretty brutal.
So you're getting all the premiums on Patreon. So Bandcamp, you're done with Bandcamp then?
I mean, I'll probably still use it to go back to listen to the older episodes, but I won't buy the new ones on
That's
there.
another thing I wanted to bring up, because if they're not recording new premiums, they're like repackaging them, old premiums, similar to like the Deadpool slipcovers at Walmart, or the like holiday favorites, Halloween haunts slipcovers. So can we abide by this reuse of premiums in just a new package?
I can understand it. Yeah, I can understand it. I think the idea is that eventually they'll all be available on Patreon, and at that point I might delete Bandcamp. I probably won't delete it, but I might not listen to it really. But I think it'll take a while for that to happen, so I think Bandcamp is still good for a while.
Because if they had all the timestamps, if they release all the old episodes as single tracks, I mean, that might be worth double dipping on.
Yeah, I think, Sean, if you're listening to this, please put the show notes on the premiums, because I think that's the perfect solution.
And then the reprise, so they're covering previous movies covered on premiums. Like, I mean, we've reached to the point where Film Junk is remaking their own content. Like, that's how far in we are.
But yeah, I mean, I get I know. I think Jay was talking about specifically wanting to talk about the Phantom Menace again, and I can understand wanting to talk about that stuff again, but it could be fun.
Yeah, I'm just happy that Film Junk is like flourishing. The Film Junk universe is continually growing, and I was looking up, and it seemed like, at least from people that commented on Patreon and the Discord, everyone was like pretty jazzed. Like Caleb R was like, awesome announcement on today's episode for the Patreon, and Kim was like, I am stoked about this announcement too. And then Patrick was like, I've had more issues with the Patreon app than Bandcamp, to be honest. So there was some negativity, but I think everyone is willing to work through it. Donnie McBride said so happy about the premium news, proud to be a long-standing hero. And honestly, the nicest comment and the biggest flex was Flo Lieb's. Feels weird to get to the premiums for free as a hero. That's not why I'm a hero. I will keep on buying them on Bandcamp. I also like the chapters since it helps me to jump to specific movie discussions. So the ultimate hero in the comments, doing both hero tier and
flexing
Bandcamp.
His ability to pay for both. Well, you're still paying $10 as the premiums are only ever $1. You could always, I guess the thing is that a lot of people donated more. So if you wanted to donate more, you could do that. And you still can do that, though. You can go to Bandcamp and donate more. So
for sure,
I think it works either way.
So this would be, Film Junk used to be able to donate on a monthly basis through PayPal. And I did that for a while because like after listening for like years, I was like, I'm paying money to like garbage like Netflix on a monthly basis, which I like. If I even watch like a single movie on Netflix a month, it's like rare. But I'm listening to Film Junk. Like I'm literally Film Junk talks me to sleep every night. It's like a therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sleep therapy. So I can pay them $2 a month or whatever. So that there was that. Was there any other ways to like give shekels to the Film Junk pot?
Well, I think the PayPal thing was the first one. I remember Sean being a little embarrassed, like in the early episodes, being embarrassed to be like, donate to our PayPal, but he only did it because some listeners had told him that they would like to do that. So that was a cool thing. And then obviously the merch came in. There was like Reed Fredericton t-shirts. So that was a monetary thing. I don't know how much they made off that, but then I'm just trying to think of the timeline. I guess, I mean, probably the next thing would be the premiums. The first time they did the premiums. And then of course we have the Patreon. And there's been things in between there, like different merch projects they've had, like, you know, with the USBs or, you know, whatever else.
I doubt they like in the end made much money on the USBs given the amount of man hours that went into that.
All the postage and all that stuff. Yeah.
But let's end the show with just some real talk, real raw Film Junk talk. Have you ever paid more than $1 US for a premium?
Well, it might be a little embarrassing. I mean, I have paid more than $1 before, but not as much as I should have, maybe. But I have done it before. Yeah,
I have never paid more than $1.
That's fair. I mean, I'm kind of I'm like the equivalent of somebody living off ramen. Like with like Netflix, with Netflix, I'm always like, you know, I use my parents' password still, and being too raw here. But there are some services I pay for, but you know, I use my friend's Criterion channel. I get that for free.
Yeah, are the FJ guys gonna like crack down on people sharing hero tiers? Like, can they see?
I would never do
like,
that.
You would never share the hero tier. I have sent people links to stuff that was like behind the Patreon paywall because I thought it would be funny.
I want to bleep that out.
No, they can talk to my lawyer. But
yeah,
I mean, I ponied up some big dough during the telethon because I was liquid at that point. But like you, I'm no longer liquid, so I'm just a simple film junker who looks up and sees the premium tier and is in awe in what you get from it. So I think I might pick up some bottles and hit that tier up.
The premium tier is the one thing that or not the premium tier, the hero tier, and just the Patreon in general is the one thing right now that I try to make sure that I pay for month to month, like every month. The only other thing that's comparable is Letterboxd patronage and like their Patreon thing on Letterboxd. And I actually because it's like $50 a month, and right now my date is about to come where they're going to recharge me because it's yearly. And you know, I'm a little worried I might lose that, but I can't let it go for long.
Pro is just as good as Patron.
Well, I like having the banner, and there's certain features. There's features where you can like look at like there's similar films, and it shows how these films are connected. I don't know how to describe it, but there's like hidden features that are on the Patron thing.
The only thing I would do. I have paid for a year of Patreon before, but the only thing that would give me to go back to it would be if I could make my profile private. That is a huge thing on film or on Letterboxd. Where
you can make it to where like, do you mean private as in like nobody can see it at all?
Yeah, like locked down, because I don't get it. I mean, I got numbers on Letterboxd, all right? Like I was in there early enough so that people cared at one point for a very short period of time, but it's meaningless. Like just having lots of followers on Letterboxd doesn't mean anything. So
are you saying that you wouldn't want to communicate like even with like the, you know, your core followers?
No, I would want control over who I could have there.
Well, you kind of do have that in a way. You can I mean, it's not maybe exactly that, but like you can make it to where only friends can comment on your reviews.
Yeah, I would want it. Like, I took myself off the People's page as soon as that was an option, and I would like to go even further than that and just go dark. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, that's a bombshell in itself, but yeah. So.
Well, we counted down a top 5. I don't think it was terrible, Drew. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah,
you are a great addition to the Film Junk universe. It would not be the same without you, so we appreciate you.
I thought you were saying the podcast is a good addition, not me. It feels very narcissistic for me to be like, yeah, for sure, I'm a good addition.
You are. But... Take the compliment, revel in it, enjoy it, and we'll be back hopefully next week, counting down another top 5.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited.
And if you have top 5 material that you think should be talked about on the show, email us at mouthbreathersradio@gmail.com. And with that, I am FilmApe.
And I'm Drew. Sorry. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.